Good morning. It's kind of cold out today. I don't know how much longer we'll be able to do these outdoors. Yeah, it's pretty cold. This morning it's raining, so that kind of makes it a little warmer. I don't know if you ever noticed that, but when it rains, it's a little bit warmer. People are going to work already. So yeah, welcome back. This is, what are we looking at, like week 5 for this? What we call Finding America, where I tell stories about people I've met that are out looking for their America, or they found their America, or something like that. Story today is about a man I met on a train who him and his wife were actively looking for their America. They had just recently retired, and they were looking for a good place to retire that was near the train tracks, oddly enough. So they were traveling back and forth, trying to figure out which town was best for them. The man, Ted, was a bit of a troll, kind of. That's something you got to deal with in this industry. If you ever thought about doing a YouTube channel, you got to be able to take some trolling. You know, people are just going to say negative things, or people are going to say things that are rude, or they just say things they don't understand, and you take it wrong. But that's part of this whole thing. Actually, my channel, in a way, relied on them in the beginning. Like I've said before, I misspelled a word once on a thing, and I realized that people enjoy letting you know you made a mistake. I mean, to most of you that are positive, that seems really weird, that's how they get their weird pleasure or whatever. That's just how they enjoy it. I mean, some people watch boxing because they want to see a certain guy lose. They don't really care about the other guy winning. They just want to see someone lose, you know? That's how it is. I mean, I'm tuned in right now, last night and the night before, to the World Series. I grew up in Los Angeles, so there's a little interest there. I was sort of a Dodgers fan when I was growing up, but mostly I was a White Sox fan. But I just want to see the Yankees lose more than anything. They've won too many World Series, so they got to go down. It's kind of how I felt about the Patriots for a long time there. But this is just part of the game. And if people are angry, if you make mistakes, they're going to leave comments. Comments help drive engagement. Engagement makes the algorithm think that more people are interacting with this, so they start pushing out to more people. Kind of gone over this before. Well, I've actually had trolls say things to my face, and I've run into them, and it's always a treat. I want to start a Substack, which is almost like kind of like a Twitter, but you write like essays on it and stuff like that. It's weird. But I'm going to put all the strange emails I get. Now, when you email me, and if it's something where you're just saying something nonsense or something like that, I had a guy the other day tell me he was reporting me to the Attorney General of his state because of what I said about some town or something like that. What's the Attorney General going to do besides hang up on you? They don't care. You know, not like I said anything slanderous. I gave stats about your town. But I get all kinds of weird ones like that. I had a guy once threaten to have the FCC pull my license. Don't have a license. That just threw him off on a tangent. He just went off the deep end. Are you crazy? But yeah, so give you the health update and all that stuff first. So after the stroke, I'm doing a little better. Still a little fuzzy. No physical things. I am getting winded pretty easy. So if you hear any heavy, I just tapped my mic. If you hear any heavy breathing, it's just, that's what it is. I'm just, right now I haven't been doing anything, just been relaxing. I think I sat in the sauna a couple times, but just trying to get things back together. Still a little fuzzy, but things are coming along pretty good. Son's still planning on going to the Air Force after Christmas. Can you say Christmas anymore? Are we back to being able to say Christmas? I never understood that. I couldn't say Christmas anymore. I had to say Happy Holidays when I was working in corporate America, and I'm not in corporate America anymore, so it's Christmas to me. Love a good Christmas festival. But my son's planning on going in the Air Force after the holidays. There it is again. And I hope he enjoys it. He's a pretty smart kid. He should do well. But I just wish there was like I guess they probably do have it like ROTC or something like that, but a weekend basic training that everyone should go to. And that's where you make your final decision. Is this something I want to do? Because basic training, until you get used to it after about the first week or 10 days or so, it kind of knocks the taste out of your mouth a little bit. And you just feel stuck, so you continue to push on. But I guarantee if you were allowed to, many more people would quit basic training than they do. I don't know, they sent me to Catechism when I was in school, when I got kicked out of the Catholic school. I met all kinds of people in Catechism. When I was even in the Catholic school, we'd be getting off school as they'd be coming in, and I'd, talk to people that were going in there, other kids, and, when I finally went to a public high school, I remet, is that a word? I met them again, and a lot of them became friends. But yeah, Catechism for the Air Force, they need that without the religious stuff. So like I was saying, I met a troll, well, I met a couple, but I met one in particular who was actually looking for his America with his wife. His name was Ted, and I met him on the Empire Builder, which is the train that goes from Seattle and Portland. They leave at the same time, and they link back up, and then they go off to Chicago and back. I think there's 2 trains going each direction. So there's 4 trains total maybe. And it takes you about 3 days to get there from Seattle or Portland to Chicago, same thing back. Well, they were living in Chicago, and Ted had worked in aerospace for, I guess, decades, and they'd just recently been retired. I always thought aerospace was, for the most part, on the West Coast, but he straightened me out on that one. Gave me the whole rundown. It was very interesting. One other interesting thing, when I met them, this is my wife such and such, she was I forget what it was. So if they're watching, I apologize. She's from Georgia, and she won some kind of beauty contest when she was like 17, and she was like the Georgia Peach or something like that in like 1956. I forget what he said. These 2 went to Woodstock. That was interesting. If you met him, he was all buttoned up and, suit type guy with a little pocket protector. That's, when I'm sure he's working, he had one of those, but he's wearing a tracksuit, and I could just tell he was the office guy. But they were going to all the different stops. They were spending like 3 weeks doing this. And they'd get off into town and then stay there overnight and then grab the next train to the next town. It was quite an adventure they'd planned. They both hate to fly, and he said that's because he knows about airplanes, so that kind of scared me. But they wanted to find a place that was along the train tracks that they could get out of Chicago, more in a rural area, but still be able to go back to Chicago for their grandkids and stuff like that, which is a common theme here in the United States. I've met like 6 or 7 people that they just take their train up to see their grandkids. Amazing. I mean, that's probably what I do. If I was down in LA right now, my daughter and my granddaughter were still up here, boom, I'd be up as often as I could. I enjoy the train. Good place to read a book. So I meet Ted and his wife. I forget his wife's name. And they gave me the whole rundown about how he got out of high school and like during Vietnam, they went to Woodstock. They lived in San Francisco for a year or 2, and he graduated finally from one of the universities there. And I want to say it was Berkeley. So he graduated from Berkeley or something, and then went into aerospace for a lot of years, Los Angeles, then in Chicago, then a couple other things. Now, this is what was unique about his job. For most of that time, he worked on the plumbing on different aircraft and like the space shuttle and stuff like that. He put it to me this way. Besides the engine and the aerodynamics, the toilet is one of the most important things on an aircraft, because if it backs up in space or on a long flight, that flight's got to turn around or land someplace, because they can't fly 5 hours with no toilets. That's just not going to happen. They'll get sued through the nose. So yeah, there's a few things that'll make a plane turn around. He said, none of the toilets working, that'll turn them around. Now, he was explaining how there's different angles of the plumbing in a house, and that's just to fit in the walls and all that. But in the plane, they have to have a flow to them, so there's less of a chance for backing up and things like that. It was really interesting. He goes, 1 or 2 might back up, but if the whole thing backs up, they got to land. So we're talking during dinner. I'd seen them in the little viewing cart, and then we start talking over dinner. He told me all about Woodstock, which was incredible. He didn't do the drugs at all. She liked it. He called it grass. Smoke a little grass back in the day, and they had a really good time. They met wonderful people. A few of them they are still friends with that they met at Woodstock. So that's amazing. I guess they were living that whole hippie lifestyle, and then got out of college, got a job, and just left that all behind. They became Mr. and Mrs. Straight Lace America. Had 3 or 4 kids. I forget what he said. He said it had a bunch. But anyway, he had 3 or 4 kids, and he's got grandkids all in Chicago. So he had to go back and forth, and his wife wasn't having it any other way. So train's the best way to go, he said. But so they'd picked up in White Salmon, Washington, which is one of the first stops outside of Vancouver, Oregon, or Washington. So you got Portland, you go to Vancouver, then you stop in Washougal. Maybe you don't even stop in Washougal, but then you go on to White Salmon, which is right across from Hood River. Hood River, if you ever want to visit a really nice town in Oregon, there's a few that I'd recommend. One is Cannon Beach. Great seaside community, and it's expensive, but it's a great place to spend a weekend or something like that. And then there's Hood River. Hood River's inland. It's right on the river. It's right by Mount Hood, and it's a nice place. I've been there a few times. It's a wonderful place. They have a nice little spa resort thing there. You ever get a chance, go there. Forget the name of it, or I tell you. So, by the way, still drinking that lung tea or whatever, Better Brands or something. So they stopped in White Salmon and checked out Hood River, spent the night or two in Hood River, and they were heading back Chicago. They had a couple other places they were going to stop along the way. So we're having lunch, or dinner, I think it was. We're talking about this, and he finally gets around and asks, well, what do you do? And I'm all, well, I make YouTube videos. Kind of had this look, kind of like, took his glasses off for a minute. Well, is that just like a hobby thing of yours? I'm all, no, that's what I do for a living. And he's all, I'm all, why? What's wrong with YouTube? And he's all, well, I would just think a young man of your age, or no, a man of your age, that's what he said, not young man, a man of your age would be focusing on that nest egg and putting money away for retirement. My retirement's fine, first of all. He doesn't know that, but he's all putting money aside for retirement, and your nest egg, maybe paying off your house, things like that, and then just, then focus on it as a hobby. And he goes, what did he say? He goes, I'm all, well, you do make money on YouTube. And he's all, can't be much. Okay, so that's a perfect example of a smart man thinking he just knows something he doesn't, which you can make a ton of money on YouTube. Obviously, you know about the millionaires, the Mr. Beasts of the world, and all those guys, right? There are those people that are making, here comes the rain. My understanding is a lot of them some of the top tier ones are making $100,000 a day in some cases. That's crazy money. That's how you get to making $40 million a year or something like that, whatever it is. Now, if you don't know, it's not a consistent paycheck. I'd say January, February, and March are usually about 30% of my average. So they're only making, like, if I'm making, $1,000, I'm only making $700 during those weekend, or during those first 3 months. So he just doesn't know that, and he's all, can't be much. I'm all, well, you can make a good amount of money. He's all, well, is it worth the time versus he starts trying to do this math equation. And if you don't know, I know statistics, I can see patterns, but if you start asking me to add stuff up, I'm lost. And since the stroke, I've noticed that's become more of a problem. I've had to slide checks over to my wife recently. Well, I don't even know what's going on here. So I hope you could hear me. That rain sounds pretty loud right now. Hope it dies soon. Anyway, it looks like we're doing okay. It seems okay. So he just kind of had this really condescending thing. And his wife just sitting there smiling, eating, and she asked one question about it, which she asked, how does your family feel about this? Do you put a lot of time into it? I'm all, yeah. I normally work about 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, and that is about my schedule, honestly. My wife thinks that's why I had a stroke. But it was just a really weird to have someone say that to your face. And he doesn't know. He's a very, very smart man, but he just doesn't know what he's talking about, and he says something like that to you. And it takes everything, because I like to match people's temperature. So if they're giving me a hard time, I'm going to give them a hard time back. And like I've told people, they get all offended. They'll get on there and they'll call me dumb or something, and then I'll give them a little something back. And then you can tell they're all butthurt. I'm all, well, you don't start calling people names and then get upset when someone says something mean back to you. It's like, that's not how the world works. It's like, you want to have a conversation like that, if you want to have a conversation like that, go call a major corporation. They've got to be nice to you. And if you yell at them, they're just going to be nice to you. I don't have to. You're a troll, or you're just someone that doesn't understand, and you're going to get it back. One of these days, I'm going to write a book or put them on Substack about all the different emails I get. And when I get emails that are really condescending and really like mean, I'll give it right back to them, and I start messing with them, and it's pretty funny. I have a good time doing it, so I don't mind the trolls at all. Because if you're worried about what people are saying to you, you shouldn't start a YouTube channel. Because there's just some people out there that are just going to get on your channel to be negative. Now, that's not what this Ted man was doing. He was just stating an uneducated opinion. So, really can't fault him. Maybe he should kind of know what he's talking about. He wasn't asking questions to find anything out. He just had a statement and he put it out there. Talked to me like I was one of his kids and I was only 17. I don't know if that's going to work right now. That's loud. I hope this is actually working. I'm going to stop it and then I'm going to listen and see if I can continue.
A few moments later.
Okay, I paused it, and it sounds bad, but it's actually doable. It's kind of relaxing. That's what I think. So we're talking about trolls. So a perfect example is just recently. I had a guy leave some comments, and it was just ragging on the videos. And what's strange is then there's someone else agreed with him. And then he had another person that was agreeing with him. And I was like, well, that's strange. And I just you could see the patterns in the talk and what he's saying. And I realized that this is probably the same person. So when I see that, the first thing I do is I click on the profile. And you could see what date that channel was created. And all three of them were created on the same day. So he basically has multiple channels that he could troll and then agree with himself on. And that makes him feel like he's more justified in what he's saying. So eventually you're just going to delete someone like that or just block them. And yes, if you have a YouTube channel, you can block people. Comments are important, but also someone that's just throwing out racial slurs and, homophobic slurs, or people you just know that are just there to be trolls, you can block them. Sure, they can make another account, but you can just block them again. I've done that to people before, and they're all, oh, what about freedom of speech? Have all the freedom of speech you want. I don't have to do that. I'm not the government. I don't owe you freedom of speech. I don't owe you a platform to put up your nonsense. And it's just, it's ridiculous. And you got to deal with these people, and that's part of the thing. Now, like I said, a lot of my success on this channel has to do with people getting angry and leaving comments. Not all of them are trolls. Some of them just have a different point of view, and they want to be mean about it. It's starting to rain hard again. And that's just what you have to deal with. During the train trip, I had explained to Ted that, no, I make a pretty good living, and I actually have employees. I think I had 2 employees at the time. And I'm all in there. They get paid decent. And it's definitely not a hobby type thing. It can be, absolutely can be. If you're thinking about getting into YouTube, this is a piece of advice I have for you. If you want to make it fun and have a hobby, talk about anything you want. Talk about something that interests you. If you like making waffles every morning and you think that's a good idea, show people how to make waffles. Do that every day, do that every month, however often you want, because that's just a hobby. But if you want to start making money at it, I would suggest you look at something that's more profitable. And in my experience, things that are more profitable are things people are buying. People buy real estate. People buy houses. People buy stocks. That's a different situation though. People pay for travel. That's why travel videos do so well, because people are looking for that. That's something they're looking for, and they're probably going to spend some money on travel. So travel agents will pay more to get their ads in front of or on channels like a Travel Channel or whatever, like those cruise channels. Travel agents, travel companies, cruise lines even, maybe hotels, they'll all want to book spots on videos like that and channels like that. So that's the best way to look at it. But if you just want to, show people how you do your nails every day, sure, it might take off. You might strike gold, or, the lightning might hit. But in reality, you got to look at something that's got a better chance than not of making money. It's almost like an actor versus a plumber. You could make a decent living being a plumber. Live a good life being a plumber. You could be an actor because you love acting, but there is a chance you're not going to make a dime, and there's a smaller chance you're going to make $1 million. That's just how it is. So if you're doing acting, you're doing it for the love. Nobody really goes into acting and thinks, I'm sure some people have, I'm going to make millions of dollars and I'm going to do this, So there's the safe road that's going to make you a good amount of money, or there's the hobby, maybe lightning strikes make millions of dollars type angle. You can go at YouTube. So anyway, back to Ted. So I explained this to Ted, and I think he understood at the end. I don't think he believed me. Is what the thing was. Because I don't know if I could just tell the mood changed when I explained it to him. Either he was embarrassed that I had to explain something to him, or he thought I was full of shit. It's one of those two. But after that conversation, he got up and left. Well, I see him later on in the train, down a little thing, and he's all, well, if that's what you do, this is the first thing he says to me. Obviously, he's been thinking about this for a while, because as soon as he saw me, he's all, well, if that's what you do, where do you suggest I move along the train tracks? I told him, I wouldn't go to White Salmon. I'd go over there to Hood River. That's a decent place to live. There's also Whitefish, Montana, which, if you want to live near the train tracks and you want to be out in the wilderness, Whitefish, Montana is expensive, but it's probably one of the most beautiful towns you'll find along that route. Then, he's all, well, what about Fargo and all these other places? There's a couple problems with Fargo. They all get cold up in that area, but Fargo has a special type of cold that gets right to the bone. Beautiful summers, people have a lot of fun up there, but those winters can be rough. But we sat down there, and he had some coffee, and I think I went down and got a Gatorade or something like that. We talked a little bit after that. He just wanted to know all about YouTube now. Now he just wanted to know about it. And then I actually explained to him, a lot of good money is made on train videos. People just take the train routes and make videos about it. And he was amazed at that. And then I started telling him some of the weirder things you can make on YouTube. All those weird different channels that people make money with. Right now my wife's got a cookie channel. She decorates cookies, and it's gaining traction right about now. And all she is she just decorates cookies. She's got a camera hanging over right here, and she just decorates her cookies. And people watch it. Thousands of people watch her shorts every day, which I think is pretty cool. Now, she falls under that category. She's not really thinking about the money as much as she's having a good time doing it. And now she'll make a little money, but it's not going to blow through the roof unless, she keeps at it. And that's the other thing about YouTube. If you're consistent and you keep going, you're going to make it. You got to look at almost like any industry you get into, any career. If there's college involved, you got to look at 2 or 4 years where you're just throwing those years away as far as making money, because you're creating an education, you're creating the knowledge you need to have a better career. So, where'd that go off? So your first year of YouTube, maybe even into your 2 years, that's just a waste of time, and that's just a lot of effort almost. As far as money goes, you'll learn a lot, just like you would in college. If you're not learning a lot, you're doing it wrong, because you'll make mistakes. You have to make mistakes, because if I explain something to you, you're not going to take it to heart. But if you make a mistake and you realize it's a mistake, you're going to learn that lesson. That's very, very good way of looking at jiu-jitsu too. You get your neck cranked one too many times the wrong way, you're not going to be doing that move again. That's how it is. So Ted and his wife, she didn't talk much. It was really strange. But me and him had that little conversation there. During that conversation, another guy stopped by and talked for a few minutes, and he was on board with Hood River and White Salmon also, or not White Salmon, Whitefish, Montana also. He said those are two great towns, and he was kind of interesting. I only talked about 5 minutes to him, but he said that he goes to both those places to relax because he likes to ski. I think he skis at Mount Hood. I don't know what he was doing in Whitefish, but anyway, he liked to go to both, and he said he'd probably live in either one of them, but he's living in like Vancouver, Washington. So it was definitely pretty interesting that someone extremely intelligent, which this man was, I'm not taking any of that away, that he just assumes right away that he knows something that he really had no idea about. I guess we all have our quirks, we all have our shortcomings, right? All right, so next week, I have a really interesting story. It's a man that used to come into my parents' restaurant all the time. He had passed away a couple of years ago, and his daughter reached out to me on Facebook to tell me. And me and him have really strange series of interactions over the years. So we'll have that next week. Normal video tomorrow. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with me this morning. Here comes the rain. It's harder now. Have a great day. Be nice to each other.